So, as people who comment on, I guess, commentators on any industry on YouTube, there's a tendency, I think, to be quite critical of whatever it is that we're talking about, whether that is film, movie, animes, it doesn't really matter, games especially. Today, I like to do the opposite. I like to congratulate EA and DICE on an amazing multiplayer reveal. Last week, they had a announcement of an announcement. That's basically what it boiled down to, and I was quite critical of that. I really thought it was a waste of time to set this entire live stream up, make people wait half an hour, and then basically just be like, oh yeah, by the way, next week is when we're gonna show you this stuff. But next week has come and they have delivered. I want to say that this is by far the best multiplayer reveal that I've ever seen. Ever. Like again, I don't know if DICE is the first people to have done this particular formula. I don't know if they're the first to have done it as well. It's just what I have personally experienced. Granted, there are not that many games that I'm paying attention to when it comes to the multiplayer space. I used to be a big Battlefield Bad Company 2 fan. I think I have like 1,500 hours or at least 900 hours, possibly like more, depending on how you keep track of it, because there was like a different account. It doesn't matter. The point is, I love Battlefield Bad Company 2. Ever since then, it has been a falling level of excitement for the Battlefield series. And by the time that we got to like Battlefield 1, and especially Battlefield 2042, I was completely checked out. But Battlefield 6 seems to be, oh my goodness, it seems to be everything that we've been asking for, except for Bad Company 3. I first want to say that the most impressive thing, and the thing I want to talk about, is the showcase itself. I mean, that thing screamed confidence. The fact that they came out, they showed you the multiplayer game, and then they immediately had live streams with like, was it 400 different creators that you could follow on Twitch or wherever it is that they stream to, and you could literally see the game being played by your favorite content creator if you wanted to. But even on the main channel, and that's where I stayed for the most part, I mean, they were just, I mean, you want to see gameplay? There it was. And then the announcement of the open betas and everything like that. My goodness, it's just bravo, bravo, fantastic, 10 out of 10. I think that this will be, or this should be, a clear delineation point for multiplayer game reveals going forward. This is confidence 100%, right? Now, the game could still end up to be bad. I'm not saying that the game is going to be like, the next coming of Jesus Christ, but man, I was thoroughly impressed by this reveal. I was like, man, we've been asking for gameplay reveals that show us real gameplay, and I've never seen it done to this level. Never seen it done to this level. No fake what is it? I want to contrast this real quickly to the marathon reveal. And I mean, the two could not stand more on opposite sides of the spectrum if they tried, right? Battlefield put their gamers out there, front and center, and you could go and check out the streams yourself. Now that the event is over, I'm sure, there's like replays and everything on the individual channels of all of these content creators. But there was no fakery to it. Compared to that to Marathon, where they basically had developers interviewing themselves and congratulating themselves on creating a product that, quite frankly, they were not showing but telling us about. And I was like, why is there like a slide point presentation, of all these things? These ones, and they on Marathon, they invited content creators, I think like 8 of them or something, and they had them all behind closed doors, and then they were showing us reactions from specifically cherry picked moments. Battlefield was just like, here it is. Here's a game being played. And then the open beta in next week. I think some people can get early access if they do a few steps. But man, it just screams confidence. It feels like they're confident about the game. And I just want to say 10 out of 10. Fantastic. Now quickly touching on what am I glad about? First, destruction. For me, Battlefield is destruction. If you cannot destroy, just render the map completely inhabitable. Like seriously, I want you to thank the real estate values in these places, that in these regions that you travel through. If you cannot do that, then you're just shooting another one of the mill shooter. Without destruction, it's like, what is it even? Is it even a battlefield without destruction to me? For me, destruction is the kingpin of the battlefield system. The next one after that is the classes. Okay, and they brought them back, and they use a very cool stylized version of the PlayStation icons. Sometimes you're just like, damn, PlayStation really hit it out of the park with those icons. They really like That whole X square, triangle, and circle. My goodness, it's like you took all of the shapes. Listen, they got lucky on that. But yeah, they have. I love the legibility of the game. Absolutely love how legible it was. Like the classes feel like they each have a role to play. They're each useful. I was watching the mainstream and I could just understand what was going on so quickly. I was like, damn, this game is so readable. It's so legible. The UI is, I think, complex enough to show you a lot of information, but simple enough to not feel overwhelming. And it's just such a balance to be able to strike. And they did such a fantastic job with the UI and everything like that. Now, I'm sure if I paid attention to, a little bit more closely, maybe I will find certain things that I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that one. But man, as a first impression, oh, it's a great impression. Just sometimes you just gotta feel good as a gamer, and this felt good to watch. This felt good to be like, damn, I'm feeling it again. I was looking at the battlefield, and I was just listening to the soundscape of the battlefield, and it was like complex enough to uh give you this sense of like, man, there's this activity on this field. And yet it never felt overwhelming. It never felt like there were too many characters on the screen, or you could never reposition yourself because it's just a shooting corridor. Oh man, it felt good. It felt good in a way that I haven't felt since at least Battlefield 4. Now, I haven't played it. I can't tell you that it feels as good as Bad Company 2 to play, but man, it's really promising. And man, I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this. I'm not gonna get that launch because it's an EA product, and still, despite me, I mean, with all love in my heart, all the love for Battlefield, fuck EA. You know what I mean? Like, it's just me. It's just me. It's just a me thing. Don't worry about it. But yeah, I was into the soundscape and I was like, man, what great sound design. I was looking at the visuals and I'm like, absolutely of its time. Now of course they were playing on PCs. I'm sure they were playing on high and powerful PCs. But it looked graphically amazing. One thing that I noted though is that when they would shoot the shotguns, especially, there was no like blood smoke in the air. And I'm used to that from The Last of Us. I mean, The Last of Us just had such amazing gameplay, such detail and fidelity. And I wish they would speak to the not even speak to the Naughty Dog team, but play The Last of Us and be like, make it that grounded, make it that gritty. Like the fact that when you headshot someone, this character model doesn't look like falling apart or anything like that. I still would just love that little bit more of like that viscera. That's what I'm looking for. To keep it even more grounded. But the time to kill looked great and everything like that. Fantastic, fantastic. Here's the things that I'm worried about. The first thing that I'm worried about is definitely going to be monetization, by far the biggest concern, because to me I think that monetization can entirely ruin a great project, no matter how good that project is. I would love to go back to a day when microtransactions were actually micro. Like, keep it under $3. That would be so fantastic. Like, I don't want to see $20 skins in Battlefield. I don't want to see like $30 guns. I don't want to see like another what is it? Another storefront attached to a great game. Like, I want to see a great game that happens to have a store, but that store happens to be just this tertiary thing. I would love to see if most things in the game, like 90% or higher, were just unlocked through gameplay, and that gameplay not to be grindy. Okay? So monetization is a big concern. I don't think they touched on that. I didn't watch the entire stream, but I really, really hope that we're not going to end up opening the game on day one and then seeing that, oh look, there's like $500 worth of cosmetics and microtransactions that you can buy in the store, because none of these transactions are actually micro. All of them require you to buy packs and roll loot boxes and do this and do that. And when I was watching the live stream, at the bottom it always says like in-game optional purchases or something like that, and I'm just like, oh man, oh man, I really hope microtransactions do not ruin this game. Really, please, you have such a good thing going. Oh man, you know what, I will say this, my next concern kind of leads into this, but I will say this: I will take this product as is with everything that is there and never have any new map or new mode, but just patches and balances, rather than, but at the same time, I guess as a trade-off, there's no microtransaction store. I just want a pure multiplayer game that isn't tuned in its gameplay to be grindy, in its storefront and in its ads to be, trying to feed on your FOMO. Basically just trying to always make a direct beeline for your money. That's such a huge concern to me. And it will completely ruin it for me. That is why I'm not buying it at launch, because I really do need to see what the monetization is like. The second concern is contentization. Contentization? Content. This idea, and I think they said it, that every so often they're going to create a new map, a new weapons, and everything like that, new modes perhaps. And I'm just like, look, I really am okay with not having new content every season. I know that is like counterintuitive and to the game environment that we're in right now, but guys, like, is it really possible to create a new map in 3 months? I don't think so. Especially the sizes of some of these maps, right? Now, I think in order to diversify the 9 maps that are going to give us, then they say that they're basically going to have sections of the maps that you can play through called like war zones or something. So they create one huge map and then they can create like 4 or 5 or 6 different iterations of it. So even though you're playing technically on the same ground, you're playing on different parts of it, so it feels bigger than just having 9 maps. I think that's great. But if you are going to create a big map, which fantastic for us, right? I don't think you can playtest it fully within 3 months. While having it feel unique and different and perhaps incorporating its own gimmick from concept to release, I don't think that's possible within 3 months. Unless you're going to do what they typically do, which is have us put it in a live game and then have us be the better testers for that map. So therefore it requires all of these patches and balancing. And I'm just like, guys, it's okay. Take 6 months. Even weapons, I don't think you can fully balance a weapon within 3 months. How many times have we seen that a new weapon is released, is part of the microtransaction store, or you have to buy DLC for it, and then it comes out and it becomes the meta because it's just completely broken. Just absolutely destroys, every other weapon in the game. And every sniper is running around with a shotgun because the fall damage wasn't properly tuned and it just has infinite range or something like that. I don't know. I worry about this whole contentization. This idea that content just needs to be fed over and over and over again, feeding the beast they call it. But I don't want to buy a beast. I want to buy a game. I don't want the game to be ruined every season, every 3 months because you're just bringing broken items into the game and broken maps and broken spawn points and everything because really you haven't really had the time to tune anything. I would take content once a year if it is good. Like imagine if just once a year they bring like 2 new maps, 4 new vehicles, 10 new guns, and maybe one new mode. I would be okay with that. I really truly would be okay with that. Because it'll be like, oh, this is actually balanced. This is actually fun. So that would be good. The next thing that I'm worried about is simply, I think, matchmaking and the appeal to streamers. And I'm going to call that streamification. I think that uh, the modern day climate, especially first person shooters, that is so dependent on streamers and content creators to kind of keep the fan base alive. I think that is ironically sort of juxtaposed against the everyday casual experience because the streamer plays a lot of a game, and they usually play within a very short time frame. Like a game is only hot to them for like maybe 3 weeks, maybe if you're lucky about 3 months, but then they got to move to the next hottest thing in order to keep that audience engaged and coming. They have their own goals. Contrast to that, when I pay for the game, I want to pay for this game and play for the next 2 or 3 years. I want to be able to drop in at any time and still understand what the game is, not have to worry about which is the current meta. Oh man, I hate this idea of a meta. I hate this idea that, content creators now push forward like these 1 or 2 play styles out of like a possible, 64, and then everybody just plays the exact same way. No room for creativity. It just narrows the scope of this is the most efficient way to achieve X, so do Y. And everybody just does one of those two things. And it's just like, oh man. it sucks. But again, from a content creator perspective, I understand why they do that. I understand why they play so hardcore. I understand why they try to create, a meta and everything like that. In a single player game, it never matters, but in a multiplayer game, I think it can really ruin the avenue of play. You know, um, I remember playing certain games, even World Company, when at certain points, depending on how they messed up the balancing, certain characters were just way too overpowered, and now everybody will try to fight for that character. Everybody want to play for that character. Thankfully, in that game, you could only play one of those characters per team. So you didn't have like four of the most overpowered dudes running on the battlefield, but it still sucked because you could just see that character appear every single time, and so many times they would render strategies that used to work with different characters just completely untenable. So it is what it is. So those are things I'm worried about. I'm worried about monetization because, obviously you guys understand. Contentization, I worried about this idea that they're going to have to create new content every so often, and inevitably that cannot be balanced fully. And I'm worried about how much they're going to try to appeal to streamers who played games in a way that is completely alien to the average gamer. And I feel like many times it can actually be detrimental. I think you're going to end up in situations where some games are going to end up being heavily watched and yet lightly played because they're actually funner to watch somebody that play them than you play it yourself because everybody else is too sweaty in those lobbies. It is what it is. Those are my concerns. Okay, now as the final part over here, I think we're just going to take a quick look at the parts of the game that kind of impressed me the most, Like this part of here, okay, right now we have a VTuber on, but the fact that they put this, look at this, I mean, the graphics look amazing. If obviously I have it on mute because I don't want to get copyright struck or something. I don't know how YouTube works, but the point is it's muted. But yeah, over here you can see the squads, you can see the map, everything is where you expect it to be. The guns, the UI is incredibly legible, I think it's one of the things that looks like a little bit convoluted at first, but really it's quite legible to a person that has played the Battlefield game before. I'm also not sure if they showed every single mode, but they also showed the close quarters mode, and I thought that was so amazing. So this year is a close quarter mode, and you're going to play in. You have four squads. Each squad has four players, so that's 16 players on the map, and it's your squad versus three others, which is absolutely fantastic. In Battlefield Bad Company 2 or in Battlefield 3, I think they eventually created where you could go squads 1v1, like one squad versus the other. I think that's always good because I remember people would talk trash and then you'd be like, okay, let's go squad deathmatch. And you would just go your squad versus theirs and you could, duke it out, If you guys had any rivalry, it was good to see. Oh, one thing that I also want to say is that there's definitely moments during this gameplay where there are errors. So there was a person at some point that took an RPG to defeat and didn't die. There was a person that shot what is it? He shotgun somebody from a really close range and that he does his didn't register. And you know what? At this point, that actually what is it? That actually makes me happy. It actually makes the game feel real that these errors are happening. So hopefully, obviously during the betas and everything like that, they are able to take away those errors. But it makes it feel like, oh, this isn't scripted. This isn't a lie. This is like a game, I guess about to hit beta. So this will be the better build of the game. So there's going to be things for them to fine tweak and everything like that. And the game is coming out in October 10, and the betas are happening in August. I would love for betas to happen much earlier, man. I think games really need about 6 months or so of a beta to be fully polished. But you know what? They said that they've done a lot of internal testing of the game already, so they could just be closer to the finish line. The point is, it sounds good. It sounds good. I even like the new death animation. So when you die, you get a little bit of information. So for example, you get this holographic display, which I think is good. I think it's good for to see the position that the person killed you in, so you kind of have an idea where you were killed from. They also show you where you were hit. On there, you have like the little body thing. So if you're hit on the head, you're going to see it there. So it kind of is good to give you feedback, like, hey, maybe you were peeking out of cover, or maybe you were just shot in the leg because I don't know. maybe your legs clipped through a building or something, and you can understand that, oh, there's a clipping issue there. So that's kind of cool. I like the way that the actual final scene is done, and it's better than a kill cam that shows you and reveals the position of the of the player, because it just makes it too easy for your team to then go and kill them. But yeah, nah, I just really, really enjoyed this gameplay demonstration. I thought it was so far superior to what Marathon had created. Um and the fact that you are seeing live gameplay, you are seeing real gamers play this game. Of course, these guys are a little bit more advanced on the curve, so some of the strategies that they use might be a little bit beyond me, but man, I haven't been this excited for a multiplayer game in a long time, especially for a Battlefield game. They also talked a lot about destruction and everything like that. I wish that these guys had destroyed more things, but there we saw that guy blow a hole through that particular floor. So that's what we want to see, man. That is absolutely what we want to see. So, man, what a fantastic multiplayer reveal. Listen, I'm happy about it. I hope that you guys are too. I am rooting for this game. I hope that it gets it gets up there. I hope that it's just fantastic for everybody. And yeah, I hope that multiplayer games going forward give us more of this. You don't need 400 streamers. I mean, you could just get like enough to fill a lobby or two, but be able to see real world gameplay happening live. Oh man, I mean, unbeatable, absolutely unbeatable. So bravo, well done. Well done, Battlefield. Well done, EA. I hope you don't fuck it up later.